So my speech problem is always it's it's always been a struggle for me because I for a minute I didn't know how to speak, and so I didn't use like sign language, this was more, for example. And so at a certain time, my older brother Israel, he was a translator for me, and so I had to tell him what I wanted, and then he would go ask my parents. So when I get tongue tied, I feel embarrassed and I feel stressed out, and so I felt embarrassed, I guess, because I always felt like I was a kid, like, oh yeah, this kid has a speech problem. So my early childhood, it was kind of like in the middle of my parents' rough part of their marriage. Early on, I had a babysitter who really didn't like me a whole lot. She probably didn't like me just because maybe it was a bit more difficult than maybe Israel was, probably, and I felt like she just wasn't I felt like she was very impatient with me, and yeah, and so that was a bit rough. But so when my parents weren't around, I always stayed very close to my older brother Israel, who him and I really bonded and connected through gaming, and so one of the first games I really discovered that I loved a lot was NFL 2K5, because my dad and his friends would play it. So I used to play imaginary football and basketball around the house. I always pretend I was a certain team and play by myself. I did basketball for a club team, but I always got benched. I at least played 1 minute per game, and it was kind of like hurtful, harmful. And then in 7th and 8th grade, I tried out for both football and basketball. I just didn't make the cut for whatever reason, because there were players better than me. So when I was actually promoting from 8th grade into high school, because I thought, I was ready for a regular high school, and I thought I could, go on without the IEP. And I started off my freshman year at Valley Vista, and I remember being just sitting in a library one day, like it was just too much for me. I started crying, and I remember just texting my mom, like, Mom, I'm done. Like I need to get out of here. I can't do this anymore. So when I started track, my dad, he was coaching a couple fighters at the time too, and so he would, like, to drive me to practices and my meets and stuff. And I think it was really good for both of us, because before then, I think him and I were very distant and stuff. And so, and he would always be at every meet coaching me from the side. And so it was just it just made me feel very secure knowing my father was on my side, at my corner, coaching me up. He always got very excited anytime I sprinted all out and I caught a few people from behind. I knew my dad always was right there waiting for me, just to say, hey, good job, son, I'm proud of you. It was just such a great feeling knowing that he was right there, and I knew he always was proud of me, because he always knew I always gave my all on the track, and he knew I always left it out there. Thankfully, my luck, started changing. In 2016, my teacher, who's in charge of my credits and stuff, put me in his classroom to do online school. He helped me not only catch up, but I was ahead of schedule heading into my senior year of August. So the start of my senior year, he's like, Isaiah, I want to get you out of here by December. I graduated from high school half a year early. So when I first got my Bible, I was extremely excited just because I'm like, oh my gosh, this is my own Bible. It's thin, has my name on it, and so it was very exciting, you know. And I remember the very first chapter or the very first book I dove right into was Romans, just because I thought it was a good book. It's strident, you know. Made just really made my relationship with God take off the most, because I was learning stuff about Him that I never knew before. I found such a peace with God's will for me and His plans for me because of His scripture and His word, like Jeremiah 29:11, for He has good things for me that aren't good or that aren't bad, but are helpful and will be prosperous. I just trust Him in His will, and I always want His will to be done. God is in control of my future, my plans and stuff, and I really don't have nothing to worry about. Yeah, so after high school, I went into I started volunteering at the church immediately after, just because I thought, you know, it was just such a good place to really start investing my time into, and plus it's a church, you know, and so it's like it really maybe it helped me, you know, connect more to people, and I think it made me realize I'm a servant at heart. Where else is There's nothing greater investing in than the church, you know. And I think that's where I found my peace the most, and I think that's where that I built my foundation. My name is Isaiah Arianes, and this is my Savior story.